unless it's a foot. I used to be, for me, the most important rule was when I was doing my footwork on a motorcycle, there had to be a passenger seat in the back. Because if you got hit in the back with a motorcycle, you got hit softly.
You got hit hard here.
Well, a bit like that. Mariusz,
Andrew?
you wanted to be out of the picture, but you were. How is it that a motor doesn't have to be the most powerful to be the fastest? The thing is, it's a bit sad because we both grew up at that stage where year after year you were waiting to see how much power a bike would have.
Yeah, but it was different for me because I never knew how to use that power.
Well, forget about it then. I couldn't use it for a long time either. I mean, you know, these days power increases faster than rider skills. But the point is, that era when you waited, and this year Kawasaki had 5 more horsepower, and Suzuki had 3 more horsepower. And they just kept racing. It makes me sad, because it simply came to an end. And today we're going to see a motorcycle that proves power doesn't matter.
And which one is that?
The Aprilia RSV4? Well, okay, you can't really say that the Aprilia doesn't have power, because now it does, but for a long time it really didn't have much power, because it's basically the same motorcycle for a long time with many modifications, and up until the point when it had 1000 cc, not 1100, even if they claim
They said so.
they said it had 200 horsepower, but I remember riding it on the track. You'd open the throttle and nothing much really happened compared to the competition, but the lap time was there. So what about now? They made a 1100, which has 200 something horsepower, maybe even more. But honestly, I don't care about those numbers at all, because they don't mean anything. But when we did the comparison test, you rode the Aprilia and it seemed to you like it was the weakest of them all, because there just wasn't that craziness, that vroom vroom, there weren't those convulsions. The bike just went, and you'd say, well, okay, it handles nicely, the Aprilia sounds good, it accelerates a bit, of course, but it's not particularly powerful. You come back and the time is the best.
So that's very tangible and clear proof that at a certain point in time, power truly stops mattering.
Or actually, even more so, it only matters when,
Because it gets in the way.
because it gets in the way, not helps.
Yeah. I rode the Aprilia Tuono, which doesn't even have 100 horsepower, because it has less than the RS660. It has 95. And I bet I've never ridden a motorcycle so fast on the roads in my life.
Exactly.
So fast, so smoothly. Sure, maybe faster in terms of speed, but so smoothly, you know, not in that straight line, brute force way, just fast and straight. Stop. Just smoothly, that's all.
Nice. If someone is doing sponsored content and, for example, Aprilia pays you and comes over to tell you about their motorcycle, usually everyone wants you to show only their brand, but try going into Liberty Motors and showing just one brand.
Wait, maybe I'll be blurred out.
A blur yourself out. Here's Yamaha, cover up Yamaha, cover up Yamaha. Oh, at least here we got some Italian stuff. Mariusz, it's because of you that we have the yellow RS660.
But that's truly the very nicest color.
I'm really happy about this motorcycle because I'll be riding it all the time, as long as you don't ride it and Agnieszka doesn't ride it. I want to ride it on the track. But why did you have to lobby for the yellow one?
Because it's bold.
But I'm not brave.
First one sold, we just found out that someone bought one in this color.
Yes?
Instead of buying a sad black,
Or blue.
he bought a brave gold one.
But we didn't come for that. There she is. So what, Mariusz? And our theory that the most powerful motorcycle isn't necessarily the fastest doesn't really line up with the fact that this motorcycle has 217 horsepower.
Well, it looks like it does.
Supposedly, we'll see how it does on the dyno, but still, this is a motorcycle that, even with 217 horsepower, I ride it and I'm not afraid of that power. I mean, I wasn't afraid of the other one. This one, I don't know, because I haven't ridden it yet, although the engine is the same. Although, no, because it's a bit bigger, but it has the same power. Just it's bigger by about 20-something cubic centimeters. So it's 1099, because I just read that in the technical specifications because I did my homework, because I'm a professional YouTuber.
Very good. It doesn't change anything for me.
Me neither, but there are a few changes in this motorcycle. Look, Mariusz, for you this is a change. Do you know what it looks like? It looks like the new Aprilia in MotoGP now, only way less over the top, or maybe just the same at the same time. Hey, but those little wings, they must really do something. Look how many years it's been with those wings. And every year they change. So every year there's some kind of evolution. Every year they discover that it might work different. Yeah, look, they used to be so simple. I think back then they were more for show, just for appearances.
It could have been that they were simply just there to look like a true MotoGP bike,
Yeah. And now they're made to actually work, clearly.
to have a real effect.
Yeah. Listen, from that angle, it didn't look too good, but like this. This is a sport bike. It's not supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be a sport bike. Hey, but
It's nice. Well, it's different than it used to be, so you have to get used to it.
you know what I like the most? The swing arm. And for me, that's proof that this motorcycle is even more focused on performance on the track. And I don't know what it's about, because look, swing arms on sport bikes used to be set lower. If you look at MotoGP, Moto2, Moto everything, all the swing arms look like this. They're set low. When you buy a Suto swing arm, which costs 10,000 euros, it looks exactly like that. And at that point, all manufacturers started using such swing arms in production motorcycles. And there used to be a theory that because of all those Euro regulations, when those catalytic converters were introduced down there, it was a problem for this kind of swing arm to actually fit. You can see here that it's pretty tight, but back then the talk was about Euro 3/4. And now we have Euro 5, which is even more restrictive, yet the catalytic converters are smaller. So look at how technology has to keep moving forward, right? I'm really excited about this swing arm because I know it's going to make this motorcycle perform even better on the track since it's stiffer and lighter. And I don't know, I'd like to find out, I really need to talk to Ukas Ričarek or Kosa sometime to understand what exactly happens physically when the swing arm is inverted, meaning the reinforcement is on the bottom instead of the top, because I have to admit my knowledge is too limited to logically explain why that happens.
I wonder if anyone has some kind of simulation showing how it works when it's inverted versus when it's standard.
I mean, for sure, the people at Aprilia and all the other manufacturers have that. Just look at how it's set up from the factory, how short the bike is set up to make it really agile. And if you want, because it will really want to wheelie you can just, stretch it out. You can just put on a longer chain and that's it. Maybe that's the adjustment for the swing arm. No, that's the swing arm pivot. These are exactly the kinds of things you don't even see in the press materials. But for Aprilia, they're obvious. You have an adjustable swing arm pivot and an adjustable steering head angle.
I don't know how much that is.
For example, I'm surprised that the seat is higher and just how it felt when I sat on it. When you sit on this one and then get on the other, you can feel that this one is even sportier than the other, which clearly shows that every manufacturer accepts that these bikes will mainly be used on track days now and not on the street anymore, because for the street there will be the one that's more of a street ride. This one, let me show you this one.
It has 100 horsepower and it's the most efficient 100 horsepower you can ride.
And what's best is, I know that if we take this one for a test and we have that one too, and we go into the city, after a certain number of kilometers, we want to get off this one and get on the other. And if we go to the track, you also have the most fun with that one, but then you'll get on this one and go, oh, damn.
Yeah, but if we go to a small track like Swampchen and take the RS and the RSV4, I bet that for a rider of my level where you can't make up the difference on the straight at Swampchen, I think I'd actually be more effective on a 100 horsepower motorcycle.
And what's better is that if we go to a small track like Swampchen, there will be a background, but there is a background, or maybe there isn't.
Yeah.
It'll be the best on a small track. Getting back to that, I'm insanely excited because the fact that there's a new RSV4 means we have to repeat our comparison test from last year, where the RSV4 was the fastest on minute 38.6 on slicks. Just like that bike standing on the Poznan track under Mele, to be honest. Okay, maybe I'm fairly quick, but I'm not a professional racer. If you gave a racer that bike back then, or actually this bike now, and told them, listen, do what you can, then a 1 minute 36 lap is a sure thing. I guarantee it. Probably also because here you just go click, click. Or because here it's new. Semi-active suspension is just like with electronics now. More and more people who have ridden with active suspension know that it's good because you just go click, 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 click. It changes the settings and you ride on the track. And you don't really have to change the setting, just click, click, click. About street sport, because it's street.
What I like most about Aprilia is
What is it that does blip?
adjust the suspension. I like them the most. These buttons here plus
Yes.
minus here.
These are for traction control.
Well, this is perfect.
Yes.
It's designed exactly for track efficiency. I mean, for me, it's useless because
And for me, it's useful because when I'm on the track, I really use it often because, for example, I feel that the motorcycle, slides more or less. If it's not sliding much, you decrease it. If it starts sliding more, then click, click, click. And it's really hot.
A motorcycle of this class doesn't have it set up this easily.
They do have it, but not like this. It's not as ergonomic. Often, this is good. It's like MotoGP, like on a racing motorcycle. Not necessarily even MotoGP. And here are the sport modes, and there are also these other modes. Oh, damn. And that's the thing. If you don't want to have semi-active suspension, you just go in and it's like you're clicking with screws, click, 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 so that...
So here you just click the setting and go active.
Yes. So then the suspension isn't semi-active. And what's also funny is that this, and this is another bold move, and it shows that Aprilia doesn't mess around, but here it's Bosch. A big, clear IMU label. And this is the Magneti Marelli IMU, that road sensor, Mariusz. And it also shows that computers are taking over because Magneti Marelli has more pins, more computing power. And that sounds like total nonsense. But at the same time, I know that thanks to this, the electronics in that motorcycle will work much better. And not just because it will work faster, but because you can connect more sensors to it. During the track test, I'll delve into this knowledge. That is the computing power, the amount of data from a single sensor is collected so that the data is more precise, so that the traction control works more precisely. Pretty cool, right?
I rode the Tuono, which also has a non-Bosch computer, and I'm thrilled with it.
Magneti Marelli makes it, that's Dorna. Dorna is the boss of MotoGP, organizes MotoGP, and Dorna makes the rules. And Dorna decided, hey, from today, everyone in MotoGP rides with Magneti Marelli computers. They were like, hey, but we have our own. But shut up, now you're all gonna ride with Magneti Marelli. And after a few years, here we are, we have Magneti Marelli in a production motorcycle. Of course, it's not the same technology as in MotoGP, but maybe it's the technology that was used in MotoGP a few years ago.
But it shows that MotoGP makes sense, because this technology really...
It transfers
to production motorcycles.
Yeah.
And of course, we won't have it exactly one-to-one. However, this means that people who don't have the flagship courage to ride a motorcycle without electronics will finally be able to ride efficiently, and not just efficiently.
And apparently this is, it's a rumor, of course. The rumor is that the RSV4, that every manufacturer, Honda, Yamaha, they all have their MotoGP bikes. These are complete prototypes. It's the same with Aprilia, that it's a total prototype, but apparently those first MotoGP Aprilias are structurally very similar. The concept is very close to the RSV4. Maybe that's why the RSV4 has basically been winning all the comparison tests since 2009. Last year, in our comparison tests, it didn't win because we didn't pick a winner, since it just didn't make sense to choose one.
The time differences were minimal, but it's a matter of preference.
Yes, but it was still the fastest. It was the easiest to ride and the fastest. And there was only one small problem that disqualified it. And that problem was the exhaust, like a Rap, which produced 207 or 217 decibels at Poznan. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it was just too loud and was simply pulled off the track. And now that Akrap is gone, there's some new invention from Aprilia, and there's a chance it might meet the standards because Euro 5 has also lowered the noise limits again, so maybe it'll work. Wait, let's do it. You can hear the engine more than the exhaust, but the example hasn't opened up yet. We'll see.
But this is also proof, a priori, that you can't compare motorcycles on the internet just by looking at a chart. I wrote this in the Tuono test, that you'll see it's not the most powerful motorcycle in the super sport class, but when you ride it anywhere...
This one, you mean? Yeah, this one.
Yes, but it'll be the same with this one.
Exactly, and that's the point. They put it at 217 horsepower, because that's the level of the Honda CBR and the M1000RR, so okay, let's assume it's even the most powerful, but I never feel like it's the most powerful.
Yeah, about 15 years ago when you bought a sport bike like that, you had to feel that punch.
Yeah.
And now it turns out that if you truly don't feel it, it means that punch doesn't go into fear, but rather into effective riding.
Yeah, that particular punch is actually quite cool, but it turns out that it's present there because something isn't working perfectly as it should be.
Right, because it should be effective in terms of acceleration and agility, not just making the rider go, wow.
Yes, exactly. I'm happy to test it, but you'd want to. I suggest you come with us for the liter bike test, and I'll be testing it in race mode and in those track 1 and track 2 settings, having some fun. While you set it to sport or just default race mode, or maybe dial things down a bit. And then we'll see after you ride it whether you get off all sweaty or just say, it's not really my thing. Honestly, for me, that's a topic for a separate vlog, Mariusz, because now that we're YouTubers, we can make vlogs.
I'm smiling under my mask here, but you can't see it.
Me too. You know, back in our day, it was all about Japanese bikes. Japanese, and the best ones were always Japanese. But look, now when you think about motorcycles, the ones we want and the ones that seem to be the best in theory.
Exactly. I wrote about this with the Tuono, that I've ridden Japanese motorcycles my whole life, and I have one Japanese bike granted. It's not a sport bike. It's air-cooled, but I'm leaning more and more towards Italian bikes because I have a motorcycle.
Italian or European in general, right?
So European motorcyclists, it took 50 years for them to come back on the scene so prominently.
So that's pretty major. Anyway, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I would like for a lot of these, well, not that many will sell here any, but I hope a lot of them do sell so that Aprilia sees there's a point in making a motorcycle that's not powerful, but is super advanced, and that people will appreciate it because these are super advanced, the most advanced motorcycles we can buy, and that makes me happy.
There is one brand that never discloses the engine power.
We know it.
We know it, and I think that if Aprilia went in that direction with the RS,
right? They don't disclose the power.
They don't disclose the power. Just for example, use a word describing the emotions that go along with it. I bet that if anyone took it for a ride, they wouldn't even ask how much power it has. They just wanted.
I'll take one, please. Pack it up, and they're nicely cheap.
But the RSV4, I'm scared, but I want it.
Andrzej, how much does the new RSV4 cost?
101,900.
Oh, that's a bargain on 101. 900 is like it costs 99,900. Ha ha ha.
Okay, so that's not a small amount of money for a motorcycle, but on the other hand, if you think about wanting to buy a truly sporty car that gives you the same driving performance and you can just take it out of the box,
then you add a zero.
So I'd say, I think you have to spend 4 times as much, at least.
Yeah, at least. But honestly, to get that level of acceleration, excitement, electronics, you add a zero. Because that's the level of Ferrari, Lamborghini, and similar things. The electronics, the power, everything.
If we compare it to, I don't know, a mid-range motorcycle, it's a lot of money, but if you compare the emotions that come with it, and above all, how you can learn to ride on it. Because I also wrote about this with the Tuono, that in the past, learning for people like me who, don't want to do stunts and don't want to spend thousands of hours on the track, well, it meant that every now and then you had to crash because...
Hey, but look, how is it now with this? 40, how much does it cost? 9, I think, yeah. Yeah? Look, what a deal. You come here, you look, oh damn, I want this. 100, you say, damn. But for 50, look what you get. The wings are smaller, and still you give it more gas than this one.
I definitely will, yeah.
Yeah.
But those who really hit the gas, well...
I can't wait for the track tests. Soon! Mateusz, just forget about those outdoor restrictions. I won't say how many...
Masks are cool because you can make all kinds of faces.
Yeah. For example, I don't even have to brush my teeth anymore. Hi.
Goodbye for now.